I want to ask you something. When you think about why you struggle to ask for the sale, what do you think the problem is? Most artists say the same thing. They don't know what to say. They don't have the right line. They want the right sentence for the moment when someone loves the work and the sale is right there. So they look for better words, a better script, a better formula, and it still doesn't work. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why and what actually changes that outcome. This video is based on a fully researched article, and I'll tell you how to get it before the video is over. Here is the baseline. The ask does not begin when you open your mouth. It begins the moment you start listening. When an ask fails, when the moment is right there and the person walks away anyway, it almost never fails because the words were wrong. It fails because the conversation that came before the ask wasn't deep enough. The person never got to articulate what the work actually means to them. So when the ask arrived, there was nothing to connect it to. It felt like a pitch, and pitches push people away. The plan is not to find better words. The plan is to build the conversation that makes the words matter. In AIB's sales training, the conversation is called discovery, and discovery is always the longest part because everything that comes after it depends on how deep it went. Here's where most artists get stuck. They think they're listening, but what they're actually doing is waiting for a pause so they can respond, waiting for an opening so they can talk about the work, waiting for the moment to feel right. That is not listening. And the person on the other end of the conversation can feel the difference. Real listening in a sales conversation requires something most of us were never taught. It requires holding space. Adam Grant's research on pro-social behavior identifies this precisely. Direct, specific asks are far more effective than vague ones, but only when they're preceded by genuine understanding of the other person's situation. Asks that arrive without that foundation are experienced as pressure. Asks that arrive after real listening are experienced as service. And Nicholas Epley's research on perspective taking shows that being genuinely asked about your inner experience and genuinely listened to produces a measurable shift in trust. The person feels understood, resistance decreases, willingness to move forward increases, not because of persuasion, but because of being heard. So the obstacle is not confidence. It's not knowing the right words. The obstacle is that most artists have never been taught how to listen in a way that creates the conditions for the ask to work. Now, this video, again, is based on a fully researched article that goes deeper into what this kind of listening looks like in practice and what the ask sounds like when it comes out of it. Click the link below to read the full article and become a VIP. It's totally free and you'll get access to every article in this series as it comes out. Here's the distinction that changes everything. Most people think good listening means reflecting, nodding, saying, I know exactly what you mean, getting on the emotional ride with the person in front of them. That feels like empathy. It feels like connection, but it's not. That is what is called mirroring. And in a sales conversation, mirroring has the exact opposite effect of what you want it to have. When you absorb someone's emotion and reflect it back at them, you amplify their experience. You actually flood them. You make them feel less safe, not more safe. And a person who does not feel safe cannot make a clear decision. John Gottman's decades of research on what makes people feel genuinely heard confirms this. People do not feel understood when someone agrees with them or reflects back their emotion. They feel understood when someone stays present with them without collapsing into their experience. This is holding space, staying fully present, staying curious, staying grounded, not because you're detached, but because your steadiness is what creates safety for them to go deeper. When you hold space, you become the thermostat, not the thermometer. Michelle Colt, who I co-teach our sales training with, says this all the time. This is her analogy because their emotional state does not determine yours. And because you're steady, they feel safe enough to say what they actually came to say. That is the turning point, not the words, the quality of presence behind the words. When discovery has been done well, when someone has been genuinely heard and has articulated what the work means to them in their own words, the ask is not a risk. It's the obvious next step. It sounds like this. Based on everything you've shared with me, I think this piece is exactly what you're looking for. Can we talk about that? That's it. Short, warm, permissive, direct, and grounded entirely in what they just told you. Not a pitch, not a performance, a reflection of what they said, and an offer of the thing they told you they wanted. The ask only works when it comes out of real listening. So, before your next conversation with a potential buyer, commit to one thing, not a script, a decision. A decision to stay curious about what this work means to them for longer than feels comfortable, to hold that space, to let them go deeper than they expected, and then close the loop. Before you go, drop a comment below with one way you know you've been filling silence instead of holding it in your sales conversations. Just one. Be specific, because that moment of naming it is the beginning of changing it. And click the link below to read the full article and become a VIP so you get every article in this series the moment it comes out.